I walk a straight line, shackled and chained. Oh, gruesome Gertie is calling my name. There is no mercy in this penitentiary. Just ask the Hillstring Gang, or Angola 3. I'm here for life, I'm here to die. Inside these walls, inside the wire. And when the wolf cries, I know it's over. Oh, bloody Angola. Oh, bloody Angola.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bloody Angola, a podcast 142 years in the making, the complete story of America's bloodiest prison. I'm Jim Chapman, and today we're going to call this episode Manhunt. And the reason for that is, if you joined us last week on Bloody Angola, major escape in New Orleans, 10 prisoners went on the run. I'm going to give you an update on that. We're going to talk about another escape that took place just a week after this escape in Louisiana. Unbelievable story there, and even another escape a couple of states over. So let's get into it, and I'm going to refer to some articles today as we move along, and I'm going to catch you up first on the New Orleans prison escape situation. I'm referring to this article in front of me, and it's headlined "Arrest Mounts for Those Helping New Orleans Prison Escapees, with 2 Still on the Run." That's right. The last time that I left you, there were 5 escapees still on the run. That is now down to 2. And all during this time, people have been getting arrested for aiding and abetting, which I played you the governor's statement. He wasn't joking around when he said, if you're helping these folks, you're going down. And that's exactly what happened for many people. Let's get into the article. A massive manhunt that began for 10 escapees was down to 2 on Tuesday, while authorities turned their attention toward people aiding the inmates who literally broke out of a New Orleans jail 11 days ago. Louisiana State Police announced Monday that 3 more escapees had been nabbed in the Louisiana and Texas areas and pledged to pursue every lead until the 2 who remain at large are once again in custody. Police also announced the arrest of 6 people accused of aiding the escapee. Quote, individuals who choose to assist, conceal, or harbor these fugitives are violating the law and will be arrested regardless of the level of assistance given or where they are found. That from Louisiana State Police Sergeant Kate Stegall. She went on to say, harboring fugitives threatens the safety of our communities and it will not be tolerated. The latest inmates to be recaptured were Linton Van Buren, 26, who was taken into custody in Baton Rouge, Louisiana by local police there, and Leo Tate, who was 31, as well as Jermaine Donald, 42. Now, the latter 2 were arrested in Walker County, Texas by the Texas Department of Public Safety. And look, there is a lot of video out there from the car chase that ensued to catch these guys. I suggest you go check that out if you're interested. All 3 of these individuals are expected to face additional charges related to escape. Quote, this is a clear example of how effective collaboration and open communication between agencies can lead to successful outcomes. That also from the state police spokesman. 6 more have been accused of aiding escapees. At least 13 people have been arrested, including an inmate who did not flee, for collaborating with the escapees. 6 arrests were announced Monday, including Diamond White, 21, on charges that include principal to aggravated escape and obstruction of justice, for helping Antoine Massey, according to state police, and we'll get into him a little bit more later. Antoine Massey remains at large. Other announced Monday include Lenika Van Buren, 28, Taisha Randolph, 27, Patricia Van Buren, 18, Angel McKay, 41, and Linton Van Buren Sr., who is 48. All charges of accessory after the fact, accused of aiding Van Buren. All were booked into the Plaquemines Parish Jail. Trayvon Williams, an inmate who did not escape, was charged with 10 counts of being principal to simple escape. That from Louisiana Attorney General Liz Muriel. The same day, New Orleans Police Department said it arrested Emmett Weber on a charge of accessory after the fact to simple escape. Weber was one of 4 people questioned after investigators combed through surveillance footage connecting crucial dots in the search. Quote, as I promised, we initiated our investigation and we will hold absolutely everyone who contributed any role to the prison break in New Orleans accountable. That from Liz Muriel. Others arrested in connection with the prison escape include jail maintenance workers Sterling Williams, who is 33, Casey Smith, Connie Whedon, Cortini Harris, and Corvanate Baptiste Smith. They are all women and they are accused of being in contact with and helping the escapees. Sterling Williams is charged with being a principal to simple escape and malfeasance in office. Muriel said Williams admitted that he complied with the demand from one of the inmates to shut off water in his cell. And of course, I told you about that last week. Now, Michael Kennedy, a lawyer for Sterling Williams, said that his client argues he didn't know the men were planning to escape and shut off the water because an inmate had clogged a toilet. And of course, he changed that story. Initially, he was threatened to turn off the water, threatened to get shanked specifically. Van Buren, who has been in custody on second-degree murder in connection with the 2021 fatal shooting, was caught with the help of a tip from the public. He was apprehended while sitting on a bench near a department store in the city of Baton Rouge. Donald and Tate were arrested the same day in Huntsville, Texas, after leading law enforcement officers from several agencies on a high-speed chase. Donald, who before the escape was being held on charges that included second-degree murder, now faces additional charges of escape and resisting. Tate, who had been held on burglary and obstruction charges, must now face aggravated escape and escape from custody charges. And then the article gets into what prison escapees are still on the run. And of course, the search continues for Massey, who is 32, and Derrick Groves, who is 27. Massey is charged with domestic abuse involving strangulation and theft of a motor vehicle. There is also a warrant for his arrest in St. Tammany Parish for second-degree rape, second-degree kidnapping, domestic abuse involving strangulation, and violation of a protective order involving battery stemming from an incident in November. Groves was convicted of 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder in October in connection with a shooting during Mardi Gras in 2018. Groves has been awaiting sentencing on manslaughter charges since October. Then it goes into how they escaped. Of course, I told you about that. And it's interesting that it notes a $20,000 reward per inmate leading to information for the arrest. And the inmate that was caught in Baton Rouge sitting on that bench, someone called in a tip, but they never claimed the 20 grand. At least not yet. Orleans Parish DA Jason Williams said he's worried about the safety of his staff. He said the escape appears to be an inside job and that he is very concerned for the safety of his staff. He said he's especially worried for 2 colleagues who tried the second-degree murder case against Groves, one of the 2 remaining escapees. And of course, I told you that was a big risk with them being out, as they may try to start giving people payback in their mind. The 2 colleagues have left the state for their safety, according to District Attorney Jason Williams. He would not say whether his office has received any credible threats. Quote, they're young, they've got families, and they don't deserve to be in a situation. Some victims and witnesses in the cases against escapees also wanted to be relocated, Williams said. He worries the dangers following the escape will chill people's willingness to testify and serve on juries in other cases. And he has legitimate gripe there. Now, as more news began to come out, Another article was released, and it headlined, "A Promising Tip Fizzles as the Manhunt for a Convicted Killer in a Chronic Escapee Intensifies." A double murder and repeat escapee have evaded capture for almost 2 weeks, leading authorities to believe the fugitives could be anywhere in the United States. As of Wednesday morning, Antoine, Massey, and Derrick Groves were still on the run 12 days after they and 8 other inmates broke out of the Orleans Justice Center in New Orleans. The 8 other fugitives have been caught, mostly in New Orleans, but 2 of the most recent arrests happened in Texas. Now, several states are involved in the manhunt for Massey and Groves. And just to catch you up on where these 8 escapees have been caught, DeKeenan Dennis was captured in New Orleans on May 16th. The same day, Robert Moody was captured, and the same day, Kendall Miles was captured. They were all caught in New Orleans. Gary Price was captured 3 days later on May 19th in New Orleans. Corey Boyd captured the following day, May 20th in New Orleans. Jermaine Donald was captured in Walker County, Texas, as was Leo Tate Sr. They were together. They led police on a chase. This was on May 26th, so they actually got across state lines. Linton Van Buren Jr. was captured in Baton Rouge, sitting on that bench in front of that store. That was also on May 26th. And of course, Derrick Groves and Antoine Massey still at large. And look, they have people out there right now taking bets on who's going to get caught first, on who's going to get caught last, because eventually they'll get caught. It may take time, may take years, but eventually they will get caught. Now, I'll continue on with this article. Quote, "We are currently at an impasse on figuring out where these 2 are," Deputy U.S. Marshal Brian Fair said. And you definitely don't want to hear somebody's at an impasse when looking for escaped fugitives. Quote, "They can be here locally or anywhere in the United States at this point." More staff members from the U.S. Marshal Service have joined in the manhunt as the search grows, and it's getting more methodical, according to the U.S. Marshals. The vehicle that 2 of the escapees, Tate and Donald, who were captured in Texas, was rented in New Orleans and driven to Texas, that from Attorney General Liz Muriel. The 2 remaining escapees could also be outside of Louisiana, she said. Quote, "They absolutely could be moving into other areas. I alerted my colleagues in surrounding states immediately after the jailbreak to be on the alert and to notify their law enforcement partners that these individuals could be coming to their state." A glimmer of hope emerged Tuesday when someone reported a possible sighting of Massey. This was at 8:30 a.m. in Natchez, Mississippi. And y'all, Massey is not someone who can really blend in because he has a bunch of face tattoos. So keep that in mind. And Natchez, incidentally, is right across the Louisiana state line, about 135 miles from New Orleans. It's in Mississippi. But Tuesday night, that hope faded. Quote, "We do not believe that the suspect is in our area." That from Adams County, Mississippi Sheriff Travis Patton. That's not to say he wasn't here, but we are saying he is not here now. Authorities in Natchez used a lot of manpower to search the area for the escapees, including helicopters, police dogs, drones, and video surveillance. And that's something really interesting. Look, these escapes that occur now, they usually don't go more than a couple of days because of technology. It's really shocking. These guys have been able to remain on the run for 2 weeks now. Then it gets into who Massey is, and he's actually a fugitive who has a habit, if you will, of escaping. He was most recently charged with a vehicle theft and domestic abuse involving strangulation, but the 32-year-old does have a long track record of escaping custody. In 2007, he broke out of a New Orleans juvenile detention center after being arrested on suspicion of armed robbery and aggravated assault. A broken lock at that detention center allowed Massey, who was then 15, and 5 other juveniles to access metal shackles, which they used to shatter a window and escape. Massey stayed on the run for more than 2 weeks before authorities found him on an interstate in East New Orleans. Massey has also cut off electronic ankle monitors twice, that from Matt Dennis, an employee with the company who operates those monitors. Court records from late 2023 said Massey had tampered and or removed court-ordered GPS monitors. Dennis said he was astonished that someone with Massey's escape history was being held on the first floor of a New Orleans jail, a floor that had defective door locks. Quote, "There isn't an ounce in this man's history that doesn't scream escape." Groves was found to be one of the gunmen who opened fire with an AK-47 style rifle on what should have been a joyous Mardi Gras gathering, the DA's office said. Groves was found guilty of 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder, both charges that carry a life sentence. So he has absolutely nothing to lose by escaping. Authorities have had a lot of leads and are getting tips from the community. District Attorney of New Orleans, Jason Williams, said Tuesday, quote, "It's vitally important that we catch these fugitives, whether it's in Arkansas, whether it's in Louisiana, but it's also critically important we know how they got out and who helped them get out. And we can't wait until they're in custody to do that." My office, the digital forensics team, everyone has been scouring through hours and hours of jail calls using some AI software to figure out who they were in contact with in the night and hours before the escape. Their circle is tightening as people who are assisting are being arrested, and authorities are chasing down leads trying to identify other associates of escapees in neighboring states. Those arrested in connection with helping the inmates include relatives and romantic partners. And then, as of just a few hours before this recording, they increased that $20,000 reward offer to $50,000 for tips leading to the capture of the 2 remaining fugitives in that New Orleans escape. And if $20,000 doesn't entice you, $50,000 should. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people would rat your ass out for 50 G's. So these guys probably are going to get caught sooner rather than later. Now, all this is going down. It's been big news for the last 2 weeks. You would think every other prison in the state of Louisiana would be on high alert, right? Watch your prisoners. We don't want to be in that position. Well, a Louisiana jail inmate who escaped from a parish jail about a year ago has accomplished the same feat again, according to authorities. Trayvon Johnson, 19, made his latest escape. This was last Thursday from a Tangipahoa Parish jail, which has a history of jailbreaks involving a half dozen inmates in recent years. Johnson had been awaiting trial for his alleged role in a home invasion that left a man killed and a child injured. Authorities said they became suspicious when a member of the public called the sheriff's office shortly before 10 p.m. Thursday, asking whether Johnson was still in custody. Quote, "Following an immediate head count of the jail population and a review of Johnson's movements throughout the day, it was determined he escaped around 4:30 p.m. when another inmate helped lift him over the perimeter fence. Law enforcement officers are now searching for Johnson and also contacting victims and reaching out to Johnson's relatives and associates. In the summer of 2024, Johnson was among a group of 4 inmates who escaped from the same jail over Memorial Day weekend, crawling under a gap in a wall and then scaling 2 razor wire fences. 3 of those escapees, including Johnson, were captured within days, but it took 6 months to apprehend the 4th fugitive. Manpower shortages, inadequate staff training and experience, as well as a lack of supervision and insufficient headcounts, contributed to the escape last year, authorities said at the time. In 2017, 2 brothers being held on charges that included attempted murder escaped from the jail's exercise yard. They were recaptured the next day in Tangipahoa Parish Jail, and Amite is about 75 miles from New Orleans. The latest jailbreak comes as state and federal officers continue hunting for 5 of the 10 inmates, and of course, when he escaped, there were still 5 on the loose from New Orleans. But that blew my mind. Now, a little update. An article came out saying officials in Louisiana weren't aware the inmate was missing until a tipster called them. Authorities in Louisiana who are looking for an inmate who escaped jail for the second time in a year after a member of the public tipped them off Thursday. Trayvon Johnson was awaiting trial in Tangipahoa Parish Jail for his alleged role in a 2022 Hammond area home invasion where a man was killed, his child was injured. And incidentally, they did correct his age here. It said he was 19 in the first article. They corrected that he is 22. The sheriff's office said it received a call just before 10 p.m. on Thursday from a member of the public asking if Johnson was still in custody. Could you imagine that call? The person did not identify themselves, according to Sheriff Gerald Sticker. Following an immediate head count and a review of his movements, it was determined that he escaped. I told you all about that already. It said around 4:15 p.m. there was an incident at the dorm in the jail where an inmate flooded a cell by stopping up a shower. As a result, a deputy was dispatched to the back with a crew of trustees to clean that water out of the dorm. While they were doing so, they opened the back door to the jail that leads into the yard, adding that the door to the dorm was left open for about 1 minute. A deputy who realized the back door was open closed it, but not before two individuals, Johnson and another inmate, Trayvon Wallace, were able to get out. Wallace was found by an exterior door when deputies went to make sure it was shut. He was escorted back to his cell, but a head count was not done at the time, and the incident was not reported up the chain of command. That's a big no-no. An official count done around 2 hours later determined that all inmates were accounted for, but upon reviewing surveillance video, jail staff did not do a proper count. Quote, "We have policies in place for this. We have procedures in place that dictate the amount of counts we're supposed to do per day. So that's another opportunity missed." That according to the sheriff. Surveillance video outside the yard showed Johnson scaling the back fence while Wallace, who was underneath him, gave him a boost. For whatever reason, he couldn't get over the fence on his own, or he was just there to help the first individual get over that fence. He returned back to the jail, and that's where our deputies intercepted him. Wallace has been charged with simple escape and principle to help someone escape. Johnson had been entered into the National Crime Information Center as an escapee. This is Johnson's second escape from the jail in a year. He was also one of 4 inmates who broke out of the facility a year ago this month. And of course, I told you about that. Johnson is 5'5", weighs 125 pounds, and is from the Tickfall area. Anyone who sees Johnson needs to call police, etc. Now, 4 people have been placed on administrative leave. I bet they have, regarding that incident. Johnson's escape isn't the only prison break that has plagued Louisiana this week. And of course, they go into the New Orleans escape. And then this article came out. The Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office has confirmed that Trayvon Johnson, the 22-year-old accused murderer who escaped Thursday, May 22nd from the parish jail for the second time, has been recaptured. Johnson was apprehended in Amite, Louisiana, beginning an end to a multi-agency manhunt that began with his disappearance from the jail that went undetected for nearly 6 hours. Authorities say Johnson fled the jail Thursday at 4:30 p.m., assisted by another inmate who helped him scale the perimeter fence. Surveillance footage received later showed Johnson jumping over the outer gate just after the dorm doors opened and closed, a sequence triggered by a toilet being flooded. Sticker said staff found Wallace and returned him to his cell, but did not notify leadership nor initiate a head count. According to the timeline provided by the sheriff's office, staff failed to notice his absence until 6 p.m. when a head count was logged. The escape was only confirmed after 9 p.m. when someone called the jail to ask about Johnson's custody status. Now imagine if someone wouldn't have called that jail. He could have went 24 hours without anybody knowing. Internal notification and mobilization began at 9:56 p.m. and the public was alerted nearly 2 hours later at 11:54 p.m. That's too long for a escaped murderer, in my opinion. In a news conference, Sticker apologized to the community and Johnson's victims. He said 4 jail employees are on administrative leave and the escape is not believed to be an inside job. Johnson, who is from Tickfall, is awaiting trial on the 2022 Hammond home invasion in which a father was shot and killed and his 12-year-old daughter was critically wounded. He was previously involved in another jailbreak in May of 2024 when he and 3 others, Omarion Hookfin, Avery Guidry and Jamarcus Cyprian escaped the same jail. Johnson was later found hiding in a dumpster behind a Dollar General store outside of Hammond, Louisiana, which y'all is in the same area. At the time, he was recaptured along Guidry. Now, following that 2024 escape, newly elected Sheriff Gerald Sticker vowed to reform jail operations. He forced out then Warden Jerry Martin, who had been hired under former Sheriff Daniel Edwards. Martin's tenure was plagued by discipline issues, and an investigation by a news source revealed he had been fired from Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office in 2022 following multiple suspensions, including one for threatening to kill an inmate. Now, Sheriff Sticker has placed 4 current jail employees on administrative leave as the department investigates how Johnson was able to escape again and how the delay happened. And then it goes into this is all during the New Orleans escapees were being sought as well. In the last article I'm going to go to on this one says additional arrest in Tangi jail escape allege broader conspiracy. 2 additional people have been arrested in connection with last Friday's jail escape by murder suspect Trayvon Johnson. Johnson was taken into custody Friday in Bennett Road area near a meet after being on the run for around 24 hours. He was taken by helicopter to Angola, bloody Angola, where he will remain in custody pending his trial for a 2022 Hammond area home invasion. Damian Booth, 37, was arrested alongside Johnson and booked on charges to principal to simple escape and aggravated escape. Trayvon Wallace, 28, helped Johnson scale the perimeter fence, and I went into exactly how that worked. So almost in all these cases, you got something helping these guys. Now, thankfully, he's back in custody. Still 2 being sought out of the 10 that escaped Orleans jail. And I came across another escape, and this one's really disturbing. This guy's dangerous. And a manhunt is still continuing for a guy out of Arkansas. This guy was a former Arkansas police chief. His name is Grant Hardin. They actually had a series done, I think it was on Netflix, regarding this guy. But he's serving a 30-year sentence for murder and rape, and they are now in their 4th day of trying to find him. Grant Hardin, who is 56, has been in prison since 2017 on first-degree murder and rape charges. He escaped the Calico Rock North Central Unit on Sunday at approximately 2:50 p.m. And keep in mind, this guy's a former police chief. Hardin escaped custody through a sally port by impersonating a corrections officer, quote, in dress and manner, which caused another corrections officer operating the security gate to open the gate and allow him to walk right out the fucking front door. Officials said during a press conference on Wednesday that Hardin was not wearing an official uniform from the Department of Corrections, and it had to have been homemade or brought in somehow. Surveillance footage showed Hardin pulling a cart, which was found abandoned outside the gates of the prison. He remains at large as of this recording, with officials saying during a press conference they're confident that he is still in the area of the prison. Officials said citizens in Izard County and surrounding counties should stay vigilant, lock your house, your doors, and report any suspicious activity, and the U.S. Marshals are also assisting in the search efforts. Stone County Sheriff Brandon Long said, quote, I am very scared this guy's going to hurt or kill somebody before this is over with. Hardin, who was a former police chief in Gateway, Arkansas, worked in the prison kitchen, but it's unclear whether his job involved any access to the sally port he used to escape. He has had no significant disciplinary issues during his time at the prison, and there's no reason to believe anyone aided him, prison officials say. Nathan Smith, the former Benton County prosecutor who helped put him behind bars, said the escaped inmate is a sociopath. Quote, he has no moral core or center that would prevent him from doing anything to anyone. Hardin is considered extremely dangerous and should not be approached. And look, this is some pretty rough terrain in that area of Arkansas, and they're struggling, especially having days of rain hit them recently, to locate this guy. They said the search is just really being hindered. Of course, they are continuing to conduct roadblocks near the prison, etc., and checkpoints to see if he's got a vehicle, but very, dangerous individual. He pleaded guilty in October 2017 to the first-degree murder in the shooting death of a 59-year-old by the name of James Appleton, and was also convicted of a 1997 rape of an elementary school teacher in Rogers, Arkansas. That particular crime was highlighted in a documentary called Devil in the Ozarks. Dude's still on the loose. And I bring that up because this doesn't only happen in the state of Louisiana. These escapes, lately, it seems like every state that I've looked at has had problems with escapes. So keep your eyes peeled. I wanted to bring you an update on what we talked about last week with the Orleans escaped inmates, and also give you updates on the Tangipahoa escaped inmate and this crazy sumbitch that escaped from Arkansas. Thank you so much for listening, supporting. Check out the Patreon, commercial-free early releases, and more at patreon.com/Bloody Angola podcast. And until next time, I'm Jim Chapman for Bloody Angola, a podcast 142 years in the making, the complete story of America's bloodiest prison. Peace.
I walk a straight line, shackled and chained. Gruesome Gertie is calling my name. There is no mercy in this penitentiary. Just ask the Hill String Gang or Angola 3. I'm here for life, I'm here to die.